The views on a Breath of Fresh Air podcast reflects the parties involved, and we encourage you all to use it as a conversational tool that will lead to personal studies of your own.
Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz Gay. As a young person, Christianity can be so foggy, like smoke in the mirrors and so unclear. But we're here to bring you a breath of fresh air. All right, welcome back to another episode of a Breath of Fresh Air podcast here with your hosts,
Nakhaz Gay.
and Earl Roberts. And this is our 150th episode. Like, that's crazy.
Yep.
150, and it's remarkable because a lot of podcasts don't even make it this far. Like, you start with people like just trying it out, and then either when they don't get the viewers that they want, the subscribers that they want, or quite frankly, just monetization, which and we haven't met any of the things that we want yet with this, but in God's time, but they just stop. You know what I'm saying? And like, man, to go 150 weeks straight through the ups and the downs,
Man.
through things not uploading, episodes just randomly getting deleted.
Mercy.
We having to record midweek, like on a Wednesday to drop on a Friday, like traveling, different arrangements. Like, man, it's been tough. It's been tough. But it shows like a lot of dedication. And bro, I mean, like, couldn't have done it without you.
Yeah,
Like,
same here.
it's been crazy. Like, and who would have thought even, shoot, we've been in Orlando for like how long now? Since 2017. But who would have thought about this like in 2015? But who would have thought like in high school, we was going to link back up in the States, and not even in college, post-college, and end up starting a podcast of all things about God.
Yeah, no, that's crazy because I had to hit our mutual friend Rennie and say, bro, my power is out. My first day at work is tomorrow. Please ask her if I can use his iron, you know what I mean? So I can look fresh for work tomorrow.
And then it all, like the rest is history.
Yeah.
End up becoming roommates, and now we got our own different houses. But God has been good, man. God has been good. And it's a testament to like, you don't know how your life is going to go, but God has so much things orchestrated on your behalf that you can't even fathom. You know what I'm saying? Because like, again, the little things that, we went completely different places for college. We ended up coming back to Orlando. Circumstances happened where you had to reach out to me through Randy. Then we ended up living together. And even when we started living together, we didn't even think about like podcasting or Bible studies or any of that stuff. Then it turned into a Bible study. Then no one anticipated 2020 COVID was going to happen. Now, granted, we talked about a podcast pre-COVID,
Yeah, definitely.
but COVID removed all of our excuses
Yeah.
to start. You know what I'm saying?
And it sucks though because, bro, obviously hindsight is 2020, right?
No pun intended.
No pun intended, but bro, if we had known, bro, what 2020 would have been like, there was no reason for us to delay starting our podcast in 2019 when we spoke about it, bro.
No, for real.
Bro, if we was already legit and off the ground, 2020 would have catapulted us, bro, because it was people were inside with nothing to do
Nothing to do,
for
bro.
months. And,
Exactly.
and I feel like that's why a lot of people started podcasts and a lot of people started shows and different skits. TikTok is an everyday thing now, bro. But 2019, bro, it was only little kids on that, bro. And when you see it, it was always something stupid. It's like, bro, we can't use this thing. But now it's a platform just like YouTube, Facebook. And it's here to stay, you know? So we could have been ahead of the curve, but
Like we really could have, and it's
Better
funny,
late than
right?
never.
Because like God probably had the plan for us to start and be bigger than we were, and we were just like,
nah.
yeah, we gonna keep on having people over for the Bible study,
study.
which were good, honestly. Like the Bible studies were good. But then it's like bought my mic. We tried to like half do it. We did some recordings. Then it was like, we ain't really feeling how that recording turned out.
Mm-hmm.
And then it came that one Friday afternoon. We were like, bro, we gonna do this. Let's just do it. And it was like, oh, where we gonna start? We was like, let's just do what's the first thing on our mind. Hence that Samson episode, which was our first episode that we put out as episode, I guess 50 or 60 something. But that was our first episode because we did what we was like most familiar in our mind and just went with it. And then we're like, oh, then we did Keen and Abel because we were like, Keen and Abel was going to be like, oh, we could talk about Keen and Abel. Then we was like, hold on, so how can we release Keen and Abel and not start from the beginning? And then it just started like, let's just start from the beginning.
Might as well.
In the beginning. But man, it's been definitely a great journey, and we've learned a lot. I know I've definitely learned a lot. I've grown, know way more about the Bible, way more about the nuances, and seeing how like the complete story comes together. And it's so like insightful now because going back and even rereading some of the old stuff that we did, re-listening to some of the old stuff we did, and going back to some of these previous books, it's like now that you have like the base level understanding, you could come back and you get a deeper understanding of how the story, you thought the story was like held together. Now you're seeing the story is woven together and you're like, whoa, how did I miss this? But it's like you already learned, like you can't understand integration if you can't even add. You know what I'm saying? Yep. It's like the first time you're going through, you're adding and subtracting. Then you reach a little higher, you could multiply and divide. Now you starting to graduate like, oh, you could do derivatives and integration and different interpolations and extrapolations. And you're like, oh, so this is where the real fun happens. You know what I'm saying? This is where you really get into the meat and bones. And like God meets you where you are. The Holy Spirit reveals things to you where you are. But the beauty of it is you don't have to be on this level. And I still wouldn't even consider myself up there. Like you ask me, I am like 2 levels above beginner.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? 2 levels above beginner. But it's like on the beginning level, you can still be saved. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just like the goodness and grace and the grace that God extends all of us. So this episode, we're gonna do some fun stuff. We got some trivia planned. Who knows where the episode's gonna delve into after that. But I mean, the biggest thing is like, thank you all of our like loyal supporters, our loyal listeners, the people who are there at 8 o'clock on the dot on YouTube asking where the podcast is, and if it doesn't drop by 8:05, me and Kaz are getting messages like, where's the pod?
Right. Like,
thank you to all those people. Thank you to the people who listen whenever they can. Like, you guys are just as important, and we definitely appreciate it just as much. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like the support throughout, at this point, 150 has been like almost 3 years. I mean, we are in 2023, we started in 2020. But like 3 years in, like the support keeps us going. Like, honestly, like we talk about all, like doing a podcast is work. Like it is what it is. Like it's like a second side thing that we do really and truly just for the love of it, because we make no money off of this and we spend our own money. But it's been good, man. It's been good. It's been good interacting with people. Having conversations about people. Like last week I was back home and one of my good friends, we were just literally having a conversation about the Bible and like different beliefs. And it's something that I never thought I would have with this person in particular. And it was just eye-opening, but I don't think I'd even been that comfortable to have that conversation if it wasn't for the podcast. You know, that kind of way too. Yeah. Like it puts me in a positions where I have to talk about God because people know me as, oh yeah, you have a Bible podcast. Like, what do you think about this? And like, bro, we were having a conversation about like heaven and earth, hell. Is it real? Different like beliefs. Like this person, like it was just like mind blowing. You know what I'm saying? Granted, even in conversation with friends, I still pray and ask the Holy Spirit, like, yo, guide what I'm about to say, because you know some people are on the fence for what it is. You know what I'm saying? Conversation instrument, is Jesus a real person? Like, yeah, man. But like, is I love it. You know what I'm saying? Like before I used to shy away from those conversations because like, I don't want to have this conversation. But now I'm like, yo, let's talk. Let's talk. And it ain't, and I think like you go back to the Corinthians where it's just talking about like talk with love. Because even if you don't have love and you have the truth, you have nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you have these conversations, you still have the love, you still talk and come from a loving place. And half the time just say, hey, I literally remember the conversation. I was like, hey, I'm going to show you know my biases. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. So I am going to talk from these biases, but at the same time, I'm still going to talk from the Bible. You know what I'm saying? But like these are my biases straight up front. So I'm not going to say anything to contradict it. You know what I'm saying? But it was still a good conversation just to talk about, like, hey, in the Bible, here's what this says in the Bible. Like, you might have heard this in church, but this ain't necessarily true because you say here in the Bible, this is what it says here. We're talking about heaven and hell. this is technically what hell is gonna be. This is technically what heaven is. You know what I'm saying? Like the burning fire pit forever. Like that ain't really like, true. Like it was just good conversation just to have. I'm like, and again, like I ain't telling you what to believe. I just telling you what I believe and what the Bible says. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, a lot of people are at a disadvantage because they don't have the knowledge. Like I was just talking to my father-in-law yesterday, and he brought up a point about, how it is not a sin to be tempted. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's what you do with that, right? Like if you get tempted and you yield to temptation.
Mercy.
Jesus was tempted, it wasn't a sin. But he said that, and I know that that's true. You understand? And I know why that's true. You understand? But I just thought about how a lot of times when you have people who are smart and people that you respect for their knowledge, they tell you something and you just 100% believe it and you repeat it because you're like, this is a credible source, but you might not realize that this person was just giving their opinion at the time. You know what I'm saying? And I thought that because as soon as he said it, I'm like, yeah, that's so true. But then I thought about it and I'm like, why is that true? And I said, oh yeah, Jesus was tempted. You know what I'm saying? People, the devil tempts, but it's like yielding is actually a thing. So you're not at fault because this thought might come into your mind, but as soon as you dwell on it or as soon as you allow it to become action, you know what I'm saying, then, difference. But at the same time, a lot of people have heard so many different theories of the Bible to the point where they actually believe that they know and understand the Bible without having read the Bible. A lot of people who are against the Bible have not actually read the Bible through and through. They could say, oh, slaves. They could say, oh, Jesus isn't real. They could say all of these things, but it's like, if you knew the history of the world, like for the past, and I keep saying this, but like for the past couple thousand years, bro, like if we go back, the major events, especially like during the time when Christianity started, what sparked that? You know what I'm saying? Was it like we could say people know how the Islamic movement started? Somebody had a vision. You know what I'm saying? They wrote a book and so far and so on, right? What started? If Jesus is not real, what started that make this fandom, quote unquote, be so big, spread like wildfire to the point where even the Roman officials and the Jews and everyone like, bro, this is a problem. This like what started it? You know what I'm saying? We can't, like, some people say that he is not real, and I'm like, bro, come on, bro, like come on.
I remember the conversation. I was like, hey, now to say, I was like, there's a lot of historical documents outside the Bible. Because I like history. I say there's a lot of historical documents outside of the Bible that proves he's real. So I say, now, when you ask in this question, I can't give this one too much validity, but I say the question that you could ask that I would entertain is, was he God?
Was he God?
Now that's the question we could entertain. Because I'm like, even Islam people, they believe in
bro, I started reading the Quran last week, bro. They reference people in that book without having introduced them. So I'm reading the first chapter and they would say Adam, they would say Abraham, right? But it's like, you read the Bible narrative and they say there was a man from Earl. They set the stage. So I'm like, bro, even the Quran, they reference these people, right? Because they reference these people in a way to say you would have already learned about them from another source, namely the Bible.
I mean, like, really and truly, the Quran, hopefully I'm not offending anybody, but the Quran is essentially Islam's New Testament.
I would, mind you, hopefully I'm not offending anyone either, but I would agree with that.
That's essentially what it is. Because
this is the New Word Testament.
Yeah, like they understand. I mean, first of all, they accept the first 5 books of the Bible.
Right.
That's why they are Abrahamic religion. Yeah. Like that's that. They get that. Now they say, now hold on, they don't. How we get here? I don't know. But
you was saying how you had a friend back home and you always talking about religion and stuff like that. But I was saying how some people, that was gonna be a different topic.
I was like, hold on.
That's funny. But I was saying how sometimes, bro, people really believe that they know the Bible without having read the Bible, and this is mind blowing to me because I believe I was one of them people. I believe if you caught me pre-2018, I would say to you, I know the Bible, bro. I know the Bible very well. People have told me that, right? But then if you ask me about literally anybody in 2 Kings, Elisha, I can tell you who he is. I couldn't tell you what he did, but I can tell you he was the successor of Elijah.
Who is Jephthah?
Oh, that's in the Judges. kill his daughter. Like, you can't forget that. He said, well, he saved Israel, quote unquote, from I think the Moabites, maybe the Ammonites, one of them. But
I digress. Keep going.
But yeah, if someone had thrown it at me 5 years ago, I don't know. I might even question. I might even question if you made that up. That's not in the Bible, you know. We know Sodom and Gomorrah, but when we know the Judges account that is very similar of when somebody was in that same scenario, right? I think it's like towards the end of Judges. If someone had told me that, I would have been like, I don't think so, bro. I think you're confusing it with Sodom and Gomorrah, respectfully, and I would have been wrong. You know what I'm saying? But it's like you sit in church so much, and pastors, everybody has their own biases. A pastor might feel like it is important for me to stick with the main characters and make all the lessons that I'm going to give you, I'm just going to use these guys because it's more palatable. I'm not here to say right or wrong, but people go through church their whole life. They hear these same 20, 30 people, and they say, oh, that must be it for the Bible. Remember I was telling you the prayer of Jabez, bro. I thought Jabez was some big character because in my family, we prayed his prayer religiously, bro. Like every day we would pray that after, you know, like how we say, may the words of our mouth, the meditation of our heart. We add that prayer that you would bless us indeed and enlarge our territory. That was a common prayer. That was a common request that we made for God. So when I read in Chronicles and we get by Jabez, I'm like, what? I'm like, no, man. I said, they must be in the other book in Kings or one of the prophets talk with him. But it's like, no, that's it. He's a commercial break and that's it. But I find that a lot of things can be solved if, you know, we would just educate ourselves more on the Bible instead of being kind of opinionated, you know, on it.
That's a fact. I mean, like anything, I kind of take this approach with most things in life. I like to get both sides of the story. And I feel like a lot of people just have their thoughts and opinions about the Bible because of hearsay and they haven't read the actual facts for themselves. And one reason why you should read it, just because, one, you should know what's in there, even as a Christian, because it's your salvation. Your pastor can't get you to heaven. You know what I'm saying? But it's your salvation. You should have an intimate relationship with God for yourself. And second, like, if you should know what you believe. Or you should know why you don't believe something.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the reason why, I mean, I know college just started reading crime. The reason why I actually like read some of these stuff from college, because it wasn't even so much so to believe them. It was like to know why I don't believe it's true. You know what I'm saying? And you got to do it when your faith is ready for it. Because I don't think I was really ready for that in college. But at the same time, too, it was like, I just wanted to know. You know what I'm saying? And if you want to know, you should find out. You know what I'm saying? Like, and even in the Bible itself tells you to test the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like the Bible,
study to show thyself approved.
Study to show thyself approved. Like test prophecies, test prophets. Like
line upon line, precept upon
precept. Yeah, like the Bible telling you, like, yo, figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like figure it out. Like I know this isn't in the Bible, but it brain fart. But it's essentially saying like we would be judged for our ability. We would be judged for our ability to find the truth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it isn't going to be good enough to just say, "Oh, I didn't know." And the Bible tells you by the time Jesus comes, for one, the truth will be preached to the whole world. And then in Romans it also says like no man can deny the existence of God. So with all the different religions in the world right now, I feel like in the West we're spared. But if you're in Asia, Africa, where there's so much more religious and Christianity is the not the main one. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to test everything. You know what I'm saying? And just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. So
you want to start this next segment?
Yeah. So we have a next segment. You know, something we've been teasing for a while, where we kind of go over. We ask each other questions. You know, we kind of go over if it is in the Bible or not in the Bible. You know, and then also see if we can answer each other's trivia questions. So, all right.
I was going to type you off, so go for it.
I have a mix. That's the thing.
Just go.
All right. First question. Melchizedek.
Oh.
No, I'm joking.
Oh.
All right. This is based on verbatim, not the idea of this at all. No, this is easy. This is easy one.
Okay.
In the Bible, or man-made?
I got a couple of these too. Okay.
The Lord our Lord doth work in mysterious ways.
Oh, that's false.
False.
That one's false.
That's true. You got it. You got it.
That one
It's
is false.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. I got one or two of those. Okay, let's see. It is better to obtain wisdom than gold.
That's Bible. That's Proverbs.
That is Proverbs.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
Correct.
All right. Now this question and answer type of, I don't know what to call it. Which king? This easy though, I think. Which king in the Bible was known for his reckless driving?
So, if you guys listened to episode 149, which was last week, there was a guy who was a very interesting driver, and his name would be Jehu.
Yes, sir.
And they saw him as they were standing on top of the walls of the city. They saw him driving his chariot, riding his chariot, and it was like, that has to be Jehu because he drives like a madman.
Like a madman. That is funny.
All right, I can do the next one of these. Bible or not, all good things must come to an end.
That's not the Bible. That is not the Bible.
Correct.
Because I feel like that would contradict the Bible because God is good and thus he must come to an end if all good things must come to an end.
That's a good logic.
That's actually a good one
That's
though.
a good logic.
That's a good one though. I like that. All right, I got one for you. For the Lord is merciful and this is the same one, Bible or not Bible, right? For the Lord is merciful and he shall not give thee more than thou can bear.
Oh. I don't think that's the Bible. I feel that is biblical. I think you can draw.
I'm asking if this is a specific text.
That is not a specific text.
Okay, good. Correct. And the text is just, he won't give you more than you can bear. The saying, but I made it King James just to try to trick you up a
Yeah,
little bit.
because the thing is, like, technically, because there's some place in Corinthians where it talks about, like, when you're tempted, he'll give you a way to escape your temptation. That goes back to what you were saying earlier, like, being tempted is not the sin.
Mm-hmm.
It's acting upon the sin. A lot of people, I don't know, people just make things up, I feel like.
Yeah, because truthfully, right, I never heard this text, but I heard a pastor say, Pastor Ware from Mount Olive. He was like, bro, why do people say that, bro? God always gives you more than you can bear. Most of the time it's more than you can bear, but it's not more than he can bear.
Because he wants you to lean on him.
Right, and Paul, I think it's in Romans, he's like, I delight in my weakness. You know what I'm saying? Because in my weakness, you are made strong, you know? So, good observation. I think we do too. I don't know if we keep in score right now, we could do it in post or whatever, but.
All right.
Yeah.
I got one for you.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the first person in the Bible to give God a name? And I will give you options.
Okay, thank you.
Abraham, Adam, Moses, Hagar.
Okay. So it definitely ain't Moses. God will provide a lamb. That was Abraham to Isaac. And he called him Jehovah Jireh. And that would have been after Hagar was around. So it's really only between them two. Did Hagar call God anything? I cannot remember, bro. Oh, I see what type of game you playing today. I could just do the same thing and say Abraham. I ain't taking no gamble.
It was actually Hagar.
I
Because
figured
Hagar said in Genesis 16, verse 13, the God who sees me.
Okay.
And in Hebrew, it was like El Roy. So Hagar was the first one who actually gave God a name.
Okay. I see what we doing here. True or false?
Oh, boy.
True or false?
Oh, boy.
Abraham lived to be 175 years old.
Whoa. Why am I bring it for?
Yeah, I see what type of game you playing.
175.
Mm-hmm.
Can I phone a friend?
No. Unless Jesus is your friend.
I'm going to say true.
That is true. Genesis 25 verse 7. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life, which he had 100 3 score and 15 years.
That one was a little rough.
Bro, I can't believe you got that one, bro.
All right. Speaking of Jabez,
Okay.
this is you just mentioned this guy.
Mm-hmm.
What does his name mean?
Pain.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You didn't even need the multiple choice. Didn't even need the multiple
I tell you,
choice.
we used to read that book all the time, bro.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Melchizedek. No, I'm joking.
This guy.
Okay.
Did Melchizedek die?
Did Melchizedek die? Does he have a beginning?
Does he have an end?
Does he have an end? All right.
Tune in next time.
All right. So, Bible or not Bible?
Whoa, okay.
A whistling woman is an abomination unto the Lord.
That is not the Bible.
That is not the Bible.
I thank you for that. Because you told me this story.
Yeah, bro. I heard my teacher, my music teacher,
Mr. Forbes.
Mr. Forbes, he said that. And that stuck to me. And so my wife whistles and that just boiling my blood, you know. I'm like, babe, no. Like, you know what I'm saying? But this before we was married. This was like when maybe we were just friends. And she's like, on the Bible? Where's that on the Bible? You know? And I Google it. And I'm like, bro, some like...
boy, get checked.
Some poet or something. Mm-hmm. You know, whatever, but...
Okay.
Yep.
I could do one of those again. When pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with humility comes wisdom. Bible or not?
I say Bible.
That is Bible.
Thank God. Keep the Proverbs coming, bro. I think I write it down. All right. So okay. In the story of the prodigal son, there's a multiple choice.
Okay.
In the story of the prodigal son, the term prodigal refers to A, wastefully extravagant or giving on a lavish scale, or B, something or someone that was once lost and is now found.
I would go with B.
But the answer is actually A. Crazy, right? Crazy, bro. Oh, man.
Wow.
Yes, bro.
They wrong for that.
Yeah, they wrong for that.
They changed they changed the meaning of the word prodigal.
Because like in
I
pop
blame
culture,
pastors everywhere.
That's true. Because in pop culture, prodigal now means something that has returned. That was once lost.
Wow.
Yeah, but prodigal just mean like flamboyant or extravagant.
They ain't saved.
You know, all right.
They ain't saved.
Right.
It is better to light a candle than curse the darkness.
That's not the Bible. That's not the Bible.
I got away from these.
What does that even mean, bro?
I don't know. Ask the Chinese. That's a Chinese proverb.
Bro, what does that mean, bro?
It's a Chinese proverb. Chinese proverb.
They say, bro, cheapest you just light the candle, then curse the darkness.
All right. I got something for you now.
All right. True or false? Jacob worked 14 years before marrying Rachel.
That would have to be false.
Correct.
Because after 7, he got Leah.
Mm-hmm.
He was hoodwinked,
Mm-hmm.
but he still got Rachel, but he still worked the 7 after he married Rachel.
Correct. That's a good one, bro.
Altogether, he still worked 14.
He worked 14
but the
years.
nuance is...
But he married her 7 years
Yeah.
and 1 week around there later. Because I think they had to fulfill the marriage ceremony.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
All right. Should I do this to you? I can take it
I
easy.
thought this was a friendly game. No, bring it on, bro. Bring it on.
All right, then. What is Jesus most often called in the book of Revelation? Christ? King? Lamb? Or Lord?
Christ, King, Lamb, or Lord.
Mm-hmm.
I'm honestly, bro, I'm just going to go with Lord.
It's Lamb.
It was between those two for me.
Because John makes a point of trying to show Christ as the sacrificial lamb that was slain and coming back to redeem us from our sins. And so he makes a point of calling him lamb more often than not in the Bible, in Revelation.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It was gonna be between those two. I know it was in Christ, and I didn't see why it would be King. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
As the most.
yeah. As the most, because I know Lamb is mentioned quite a few times in the Bible, but I mean in Revelation, but just the way how the Bible is written, how often they use the term Lord, I'm like, bro, I might be able to get that one, but all right, cool. All right, I want to take a cheap shot right now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I know I got a couple for you.
The woman
Oh my word.
that washed Jesus' feet.
Okay.
True or false?
Whoa.
No. I ain't gonna say true or false. I just give you the options. The woman that washed Jesus' feet was A, Mary of Bethany, B, Mary Magdalene,
That one.
or C, Mary the mother of of Jesus. B, Mary Magdalene,
I
right?
go Magdalene.
False. It was actually
Bethany?
A, Mary of Bethany.
Where'd she come from?
Bro, it's so funny
because she come from.
It's so funny because they mentioned Jesus' feet being washed twice, right? The first time they didn't mention a lady. The next time it was in Bethany, right? I remember her sister Martha was like, "Bro, come help us cook or whatever," and he's like, "No," like you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was Mary of Bethany. I can pull up the text in a second.
So I always thought it was Mary Magdalene.
Because everybody thinks it's Mary Magdalene. Which gonna leave.
Why? This is the Mandela effect.
Is it? I don't know.
That's wild. Okay, this how we playing. Mary of Bethany. Bethany come from.
Oh, you could ask a question in the meantime.
Who called himself nothing but dust and ashes? David, Job, Abraham, Solomon.
Say the options again.
David, Abraham, Job, Solomon.
That doesn't sound like David unless we talking Psalms. Abraham, I don't know why he would say that. So I just feel safe to just taking him out. Solomon or Job. Honestly, I'm gonna just say Job.
Job would be the safe bet, but it's actually Abraham.
Oh man, that's crazy. The only one I didn't feel comfortable with.
It's funny, right? Because Solomon, you would think, to me, if I before I do this, I would have thought either Job or Solomon, because Solomon gets very dark in Ecclesiastes. Life is nothing. Life is meaningless, right?
That's true. That's why I really thought it was him. But
Job going through his little, Job going through a lot. And he had a time where he was just like, bro, his wife even told him curse God and die. But Abraham actually called himself nothing but dust and ashes, and this is when he was trying to intercede for Sodom and Gomorrah, which is kind of parallel because Sodom and Gomorrah was reduced to nothing but dust and ashes in the end result. But you find that in Genesis 18, 16 to 33.
Well, I getting cooking this game. But back to my last thing. The reason why I didn't even write the text at the time because it's like they have like all the Gospels talk about Jesus getting his foot washed, but John based on the Gospel of John chapter 12, verse 1. 6 days before Passover, Jesus therefore came to Bethany where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. So they gave a dinner for him there. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those reclining with him from the table. Mary therefore took a pound of expensive ointment made from pure nard and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair or whatever. So yeah, they don't mention Mary Magdalene at all. They mention, because this is at Bethany, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. You know what I'm saying? So people assume it's Mary Magdalene because a lot of people don't remember Mary from Bethany.
No.
A lot of people do not remember Mary from
but there were 3 Marys.
There definitely was.
Because Mary, mother of Jesus, Mary Magdalene, I just forget who's the third Mary. But
right.
I know there was a third Mary.
And I feel like the reason we understand it was a third Mary because when Jesus died, it was 3 presidents.
Exactly.
Because like you automatically assume the Mary of Bethany is the same as Mary Magdalene. You know what I'm saying?
That's wild. Because I always be like, who's this random third Mary is?
Right. All right. So back to Mary Magdalene.
Oh, we going back?
Yeah, no, we going back to Mary Magdalene.
Oh, wow. He found a strategy that works, ladies and gentlemen, and he's milking that strategy.
All right. According to the Bible,
oh boy,
Mary Magdalene's former profession was a woman of the night. True or false?
I feel like it's a trick. According to the Bible.
Yes, according to the good book.
Straight Bible.
Straight Bible.
I want to say false.
That is correct. There is no mention of Mary
That's
Magdalene being a prostitute. Bro, when I said, bro, we should do the Bible trivia, it was when I discovered this point. I said, hold on, bro. I said I can come and share this with her, or I can ask him it on the stand. You know what I mean?
I thought it was a trick, because I think I remember like someone saying that like is nowhere in the Bible. I was like, but how do we all? It's not like Jezebel, right? Like we all assume it's harlot, but when you start putting the pieces together, you kind of see it. But like with Mary Magdalene, everyone just assumes she's a harlot.
Let me tell you why. It's the same foot washing situation. So they mention it in all the gospels, but they don't call a woman by name in every gospel. But in the gospel of I think is it Matthew? No, verse 36. Oh, Luke. In the gospel of Luke, right? They describe her as a sinful woman. So you have a Simon who's a Pharisee, right? And you have this woman washing Jesus' feet. And Simon, like, bro, if you wouldn't even know how sinful this woman was, bro, you wouldn't even do it. Jesus tell the story. Okay, so, you know, basically a debt collector, the person who had the biggest debt cleared, who you think would be the most thankful? You know what I'm saying? That type of situation. And Simon understood. And so based on that, when we read another chapter of the Bible, we realize that it was Mary, a woman named Mary, who was washing Jesus' feet. And so if in the Bible they describe a woman as a sinner, as a big sinner, you automatically assume sexuality. You automatically assume prostitution based on the time of the Bible. So people say, all right, Mary was a prostitute because she was such a big sinner. And now we completely just cancel out the Bethany part and say this is Mary Magdalene.
So was Mary Bethany?
I don't know. Truthfully, this woman was very sinful. The Bible does not say by profession she was a prostitute, but the folklore is that Mary Magdalene was so thankful because she was a former prostitute become follower of Christ type of situation.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, it's not biblically supported. But me, I started to discover the this story when I started to try to back into the day when Jesus died, because you see they say like 6 days before the Passover. So I would read it in one chapter, say 6 days before Passover, and I'm like, all right. Now, when I go to the other gospel, I could tie this down to a T. But the other gospel,
yeah, boy,
it's so ambiguous. It's like, truly, is this even the same occurrence? Like, I'm wondering, was his feet washed more than one time? While a man named Simon was present, because one chapter says the house of Simon, another one says Simon the Pharisee. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, bro, this has to be the same scenario. But in the Gospel of Luke, this story occurs in the 7th chapter, but everyone else is towards the end, like towards when Jesus is about to get crucified. You know what I'm saying?
Gotta love it. Gotta love
real.
it. All right. How much more questions you got? 'Cause I got a bunch, but I know
I can be real. I only got like 2 more, and these dead easy, bro.
Okay, 2 more. All right, let's go. Let's let me see what I can do for you. All right. This is an interesting one. How many times did Jesus use spit as a part of his miracles?
I want to say 2.
It's actually 3.
Oh man!
It's actually 3.
Okay.
One's in Mark. Actually, there's 2 in Mark and 1 in John.
How many of those dealt with blindness? Do you
2.
know? 2? Yeah.
2 of them dealt with blindness. 1 dealt with death.
That's why I think I only remember 2, because I figured the blindness was 1. Because I'm like, all right, blind and spit, all right, cool. And then the other one. All right, super easy one. Oh, this is so oh my gosh, bro. I can't believe I said these for last. True or false? There were 3 kings. No, I'm sorry. There were 3 wise men that visited Jesus.
False. Thanks for ending easy.
Oh
man. Okay. What should I do? You ain't gonna get this one. This could be funny. I even can help you out. What is the most quoted Psalms in the New Testament?
The most quoted psalm in the New Testament?
It's like a 2-parter.
I have no clue, bro. I have no clue.
So it's Psalms 110. I'm gonna read it, and I'm gonna make you think which was the most quoted verse.
Okay.
So this is Psalms 110. The Lord says to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. The Lord will extend your mighty scepter from Zion, saying, rule in the midst of your enemies. Your troops will be willing on your day of battle, arrayed in holy splendor. Your young man will come to you like dew from the morning womb. The Lord has sworn and will not change his mind. You are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. The Lord is at your right hand. He will crush the kings on the day with his wrath. He will judge the nations, heaping the dead and crushing.
Pause. Is this the text that say the stone that the builder refuses, the chief cornerstone?
No.
Oh, okay, go on.
But this one we actually have like 6-7 verses. So we're at the end. He will judge the nations, heaping the dead and crushing the rulers of the whole earth. He will drink from the brook along the way, and so he will lift his head high. So
What was the first?
I can let you see the.
I'm just gonna go with verse 1.
That was actually the most quoted.
Oh wow.
verse in Psalms. Actually, most quoted, in the New Testament.
All right. Bro, this is so easy, bro. I can't believe I did this, bro. All right. But this for the viewers too. You know what I'm saying? This for the viewers.
The viewers are winning.
For the viewers. True or false? The tree.
This how cast his belly up, you know. He trying to say it's so easy and watch it be hard.
No, this is...
And they can be a gotcha.
Bro, trust me, bro. Trust me. I wish My only two big jokers was the Mary stuff, and I like, all right. I think I could build some momentum. But you got one of them. Like, man, I was banking on that. All right. The tree in the garden that Adam and Eve was not supposed to eat, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, was actually an apple tree.
Oh, that's false. That is false. Now, I really would like to know what the fruit was, because there's no indication of what the fruit actually was. And the funny thing about it is, again, this is where human interactions and stuff come, because people say, oh, it's sex. It's definitely not sex. People say it's like all type of different things, right? But there was a fruit, but it's not an apple. Now, I think apple's just the most common fruit. So when you tell them, like, because when you're reenacting the story to show something, so when people reenact the story, especially start making cartoons and drawings, an apple just became the symbol of the fruit, but an apple is not the fruit.
Right, because it's like, bro, we ain't really got the time to actually read through all of this, but I'm like, bro, was it actually even a fruit tree? Or do we assume that because the God said you could eat from any fruit except this tree? You know what I'm saying? And fruit could mean like fruition type of thing, like anything that comes from this. You know, like if I say, bro, my studies last night was unfruitful. You know, it's not literal fruit. It's like a proverbial
maple syrup from the tree.
Right.
Some good and evil syrup.
I try to say it could have been a vegetable, you know, just a semantic point. You know what I'm saying? But all right, cool. I want to take a. Oh, that's your lot.
I got more.
Yeah,
you just asked.
Ask one more question.
All right.
Yeah.
Which man wrote the most words in the Bible? Moses. I give you some options. Moses, Paul, David, or Solomon.
I'm gonna go with Moses.
It was Moses.
Let's go.
Moses wrote 125,139 words. Win!
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's go,
right.
champion.
All right.
So this is just some other ones I had. How long was Lazarus dead? 3, 4, 5, or 6 days?
Well, you know, I think someone asked me this when we was playing a game. Bro. Oh man. I don't want to get it wrong twice, bro. All right. I'm going to say 3 days. It was actually 4, right?
It was actually 4.
Bro, that's the same thing that happened last time.
It was actually 4. All right. Who wrote the most books in the Bible? That one should be pretty easy.
Not for me.
Who wrote the most? Paul.
Yeah.
Paul wrote 13 books in the Bible. He wrote I just casually say Paul wrote the New Testament.
Yeah, true.
What was probably Paul's first book?
Was probably his first book, Hebrews.
First Thessalonians. It's probably his first one he wrote.
Yeah, I can be real. I skimmed through Acts last year when I was reading that. And I was trying to put pieces together based on the books and stuff like that, but...
And Romans might have been one of his last ones because he actually never make it to Rome. And when you actually read Romans, he was like, I would love to come to you guys. But he was already like, his fate was sealed.
Yeah.
There probably just other like discussion points that we could do. Like, but where you want to take it now?
I don't know.
What's something you learned recently?
Honestly, the Mary thing was something I learned recently because I can't remember if I was watching a show or someone mentioned that she was a former prostitute. Oh, let me tell you what it was. You remember I told you that someone told me, nah, this a he say, she say, whatever thing. I told Earl that someone told me that they read from Ellen White that Jesus used to be praying that Mary don't go out in the night.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying?
Remember you told me that. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And so I thought about that because I repeated that, but I always qualified by somebody told me that Ellen, I always say that so I don't be at fault. So I say, let me find this in Ellen's writings because now that I've read some of her books, I'm like, I can tell what doesn't really sound like it came from her, like based on like how extreme, like some people try to be really extreme with her writings. And I'm like, bro, that doesn't really sound like her for real. So I try to Google it. I like on our website, you could search the index for every time they use a word or whatever. So I'm searching Mary Magdalene. I'm searching prostitution, right? But then you really think about it, it's like the person was saying that he would be staying over by Lazarus' house, Lazarus them, and when she would sneak out in the middle of the night, he'd be praying that she don't do whatever. And like, bro, this sounds so fictional, and I don't see why Mary Magdalene is not in Bethany with Lazarus when he have a whole sister, you know what I mean, who's married there. So like they probably mistaken that. And on top of that, I could not find it I could not find anything close to that in the Ellen White estate, like EllenWhiteWritings.com index. And so I'm like, let me Google her being a prostitute. And I end up finding out that one of them, I think, saints or them church fathers in like maybe like the 16th century and stuff like that, attributed that and those two to being the same, and it took a life of its own. And it's like certain paintings, like Jesus at the Last Supper, that painting was so impactful that people believe that this is exactly how it happened. This person was at his right hand. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. And it's like, no, it's a painting. And even I believe that the reason why people think that it was actually an apple is from paintings too, because you would see paintings where Eve would have a serpent around her and stuff like that, but she would have an apple in her hand, and so now these things, they take a life of its own. And that's to the point where we're saying, like, not reading the Bible puts you at such a disadvantage, especially if you do not believe in the Bible. If you disagree with the Bible and you have not read it, you are actually at a strong disadvantage, because some of the points that you might be arguing might be entirely fabricated or false, and it does nothing for you, like you understand what you believe, why you believe it, where it's found. If I say, I don't like this person, like Sanford, Florida, right? I was trying to get an apartment in 2017. I was trying to get an apartment in Sanford. I was on Reinhardt Road. Now, Reinhardt Road is like very commercial. You got the mall in the back there. You got all of these restaurants and stuff to do right here. So my perception of Sanford was that this was like almost like a college town type of thing, and I thought it was like predominantly white because I go around there and I just saw a lot of that demographic of people. Now I live there and I realized that this is historically black. It's like a historical, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a very black city. You know what I'm saying? And not to say which one I prefer or not, but my perception of this city was just based on one street. Yeah. And it's almost like basing your entire idea of a city based on downtown. Like you go downtown and you're like, oh, they got a lot of homeless people there. You know what I'm saying? There's debauchery going on straight through. But it's like, no, that might be one strip. That's like basing the entire Central Florida off of I Drive.
Mercy.
You would say, bro, this is such a tourist destination, this and that. But it's a lot.
Even speaking of that too, is like, I remember when my uncle was coming here, I was like, you ever been to downtown Orlando? Because everyone who comes to Orlando, they just stick around like the tourist areas. But yeah, to your point, like your whole perception could be changed once you actually like experience something for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of tourists vision of the Bahamas shape just coming down a cruise ship. I'm like, you gotta actually come off and get out of the tourist station. You see the real deal. That's
why it's so hard for me to tell people what to do in the Bahamas, bro. It's very hard, bro. Like I get anxious when people ask me. I'm like, bro, because I want to show you a good time, but I cannot put my shoe in the
tourist foot. Yeah, I try to break down. I'm like, what's to do in the Bahamas? I'm like, I used to be like, bro, I don't want to tell you, bro.
Yeah.
Just like, you don't go home.
You would be better off Googling yourself what to do.
I'm like, the stuff I know what to do.
Right.
You can't. I used to tell people the same thing. You could go on a tour, go look at the forest, look at the water tower, look at the Queen's Staircase, go to the fish fry. But anyway, we digress.
Yeah, it wasn't until I went on vacation and I saw the things that people were so amazed at. I'm like, bro, this look like the crib, bro. This look like my neighborhood right now. But people taking pictures. I'm like, bro, I ain't grow up right there. This looks exactly like my neighborhood. You know?
Exactly. When you're tourists, see it different.
Yeah, they do. But yeah, so that's just, that's one thing I learned recently. Do you have anything that you learned?
It's a few. One I guess I'll talk about is like a different understanding or way to look at Genesis 3, right? And this is the one thing you always gotta remember. We read the Bible in English, but the Old Testament especially was written in Hebrew and the New Testament was written in Greek. So to get to English, there is some translation. And just like this, you go to English from different, like you say small, right? There's probably 3 different words you could use for small. It doesn't make the translation any less accurate, but sometimes the actual meaning could be lost. A better would be like minuscule.
Yeah.
I even say minuscule in English, right? We understand it, but something's very tiny. They get translated to French, it might just be the French equivalent to small. You know what I'm saying? So some of that translation is lost,
Definitely.
but it keeps the meaning kind of. And sometimes you could use a word that's translated correctly, but the meaning completely changed. So
that's true too. The meaning can completely change over time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so now it's like going back to the curses, right? I'm going to just read it. And so, bing, bing, bing. I'm going to start in Genesis 3, verse 16, right? And again, this is right when after Adam and Eve had ate the fruit. You know what I'm saying? And God cursed the serpent. And now God was, putting the curse on Eve and then putting the curse on Adam, right? So he said to the woman, I'm going to read it how it says in this. And I am reading from the New King James for what it's worth, right? It's interesting. New King James has a slightly different interpretation, right? But anyway, say, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In pain you will bring forth children. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. And then he said to Adam, because you have heeded the voice of your wife, and have eaten from a tree in which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat. Curses for your sake, in toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life, but thorns and thistles shall bring forth for you. And you shall eat of a herb of the field, and in sweat in your face you shall eat bread till you return to the ground, and out of it you were taken, from dust you, and dust you shall return, right? I'm going to just read the King James version. Give me 1 second. Bear with me.
Yeah, so, see, this would decide when you have a podcast. You just end up saying stuff, and you'd be like...
Scramble a little bit.
No, not that. Because earlier I was like, I wonder if it was really a fruit. Like, it could have been a vegetable, but, thinking about it now, even you reading the text, it clearly says fruit. You know
Yeah.
But we know it wasn't an apple,
And the King James said, greatly multiply, and bring forth children, right? And so a lot of the newer versions, right, they'll be like, oh, and child, greatly multiply your pain in childbearing, right? So the interesting thing is, like, you go back to the Hebrew, the word that was used for both Adam and Eve is like, it's a Hebrew word for toil. It's sabon. My Hebrew ain't good at all. So it's like, it's sabon. And the it's sabon, it literally means in strong Hebrew, the word toil and the word like labor. You know what I'm saying? And so in the realest of senses, it's saying that you got to remember the first commandment, quote unquote, right? That we can have the argument they was given 10 commandments or not, right? But the first thing that they all told them, say, hey, be fruitful and multiply, right? Be fruitful and multiply, right? And so now you have Adam, who's the provider of the family, and you have Eve. And when you look at their curses, it kind of directly prohibits what they have to do. It makes it harder. Adam, you were supposed to, like, in the garden, you could have just picked fruits and provide for your family and just tend to the garden. Now, I'm making that harder for you.
You got to work for that.
You actually have to work for it. You have to sweat. And on top of that, the ground could be barren. The ground, farmers going to come. Thorns and thistles going to come. Don't just think you're just going to plant and they're going to grow now. You have to work. You actually have to put in that work and effort to eat. Something that you have to do. And now, So you look at it, okay, Adam have to like just work harder, right? What about Eve? When you look at how the itzabon word is used, right? And say, and you will have to toil to bring forth children into this world. And now some people say, oh, you just have like, you're just going to experience hard labor pains. That's not what it's actually saying, right? It's actually saying now your charge is to produce and multiply. It's going to be hard for you to bring children into this world.
Mm.
It's not just going to be a cakewalk to bring children into this world. I'm not talking about labor pains, because now when you start going through Genesis, it makes more sense why the biblical narrative is. When we were going through the podcast, it was like, why everyone barren?
Why everyone was barren, but yeah.
But God was making a point to show them that, hey, y'all is the ones who really supposed to progress the line of Abraham, but it's going to be hard for you to do that. Sarah, 100, you know what I'm saying? Well, 90 at that point, can't have children. Barren. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be hard for you to multiply. Not just your husband going to have it hard. You're going to have your part of the bar going to be hard too. You go to Rachel and Sarah. Hard for them to have children. So much that they start eating like the mandrakes and stuff to get fertilized. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's hard to have children. And like, I think it's a gift of life we take for granted today, but you even seen today, like, infertility problems are real, but it's kind of stemming from back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to work hard to provide for our families, and not saying, I'm not trying to compare the two, but I'm just saying, like, when you go back and actually read the true meaning of what God was actually putting on Eve, and then you start reading the biblical narratives of how many people were barren, it makes sense, because now you're saying that, oh, and even look at the people who, even the prophets or the patriarchs too, they had a hard time too, providing for their families, working hard, working 14 years, whether it's self-induced or not. But the Bible was trying to paint the narrative that, hey, the things that you guys will do to produce and reproduce and multiply is going to be hard on both parts. So you guys still have to do it, but as a direct result of the choice you guys made to eat the fruit. And so it was eye opening, because every time you think about it, at least for me personally, it was like, oh yeah, what the women get? Oh yeah, they have a hard time giving birth. But it's so much deeper than that, and you start seeing how things just get interwoven together. You're like, oh, that's interesting. I would have never put two and two together, but it's like, that's like I'm like now I'm trying to go back and look at some of the Hebrew words to actually get like the true meaning, because I feel like, I mean, I read manga, One Piece, no plug at all, right? But it's like when something's written in a different language, that native language gets a way different experience than the translated language, because words have meanings, and those meanings are lost in translation. Because granted, like we were saying, we made a big point of this, especially early in the podcast, when we was going through all the things and what they mean. Like, we just had a question, what does Jabez mean? You know what I'm saying? But like, in Hebrew, you see the word Jabez, you instantly know that's pain. You know what I'm saying? You instantly know. So now when
it's like a word.
Exactly. So now you know, like, oh, that gives this story a whole different context. You read it in English, no, okay.
Yeah, Jabez. It's a cool name. I have a friend named Jabez.
You know what I'm saying? So like now, but like the story is still good and powerful, but the context is kind of misplaced. But when you actually bring the context to what's happening in the narrative, it gives you a whole better appreciation for the story and a whole deeper understanding. So that's one random thing. It's a bunch of things, like, you know, learning out, going back, looking at some of the Hebrew words, and actually seeing like the narrative and why certain things were written a certain way, and how this story ties back into something like chapters ago. Like even in Genesis too, we was talking about this earlier, like the ark. And I don't want to get into this one too much, but like when you look at the instructions of the ark, right? First of all, the word ark isn't even a Hebrew word. That's the first thing, right? It isn't a Hebrew word, but it's so funny that we have two arks that are mentioned in the Old Testament. Well, I'll even say the first 5 books, the Torah, Pentateuch, whatever you want to call them, right? But if you look at the description of both are pretty similar. Okay. One's just a smaller version of the bigger one.
I mean, when you look at the pictures of it, I could see it, because the Ark of the Covenant, they have like a gazebo type of thing in the middle, and whenever someone show you like a picture of the Ark, like for Noah, it have this like the middle piece where it's like a little house in the middle, you know.
And exactly, and the funny thing about it is like the Ark we look at the ark is the place where God comes and dwells with his people.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's supposed to be like a place of protection. And that's essentially what the ark was for Noah and his family.
Yeah, definitely.
In a different sense. But it's like God said, okay, you guys are going to build yourselves an ark because I am going to be the ones protecting you guys during this tumultuous event that's about to happen. And you read the ark instructions. You're like, it says, yeah, put a window on the side. You're like, granted, there's way more instructions that Noah had to been given to build the ark than what we were given. But the account was for us to make the parallel with the Ark of the Covenant that's coming in a whole separate book. You know what I'm saying? And when you start reading all these different stories and all these different themes in the Bible and just starting to see how, man, it's a complete story from the Garden of Eden to the Ark of the Covenant, to the temple, to the sanctuary, to the temple, to the Revelation description. And you're like, oh, it's all a theme. It's all a theme. It's all a theme coming back like, okay, God wants to dwell with us. He wants to dwell with his people. Another question I was going to have was like, bring it back to the trivia, is like, are we going to live in heaven forever?
I don't think so. You're going to live for 1,000 years.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of people who think that after Earth is going to be heaven and that's it. No, but God's ultimate plan is to bring us back here to Earth because Earth is our domain. You know what I'm saying? And his whole plan is to create a new Earth for us. But to give us a new Earth, he has to cleanse the Earth of all of its wickedness right now. And he said, all right, you guys suffered a lot down there. Come back into heaven with me for 1,000 years, but we're going to come back down 1,000 years about a day in heaven. So really and truly,
it's a day.
We're going to be up there for one day and we're coming back down. You know what I'm saying? Jeez. But yeah, man, the Bible's a beautiful thing. And the good thing about it, and it's kind of how we started the podcast, it's like there's no shortage of things you can learn. There's no shortage of insights you can get. And I'm wary of people who say they know everything in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? I'm wary of it.
Bro, it's so interesting. And if you all stuck around for this whole episode, at the beginning, I keep joking on this guy, Melchizedek. I keep saying that because Earl and I off mic, we spoke about Melchizedek a few times. If you read the Old Testament account, just a regular dude, straightforward, cut and dry. Him and Abraham had interactions in a couple chapters. David mentions him. He's a priest in the order of Melchizedek. That's the same one, right? And then in the New Testament, they say that text again. You know, Jesus was the priest in the order of Melchizedek. But then they start talking with this guy from like they start Paul references Melchizedek, and it's a lot of ambiguity surrounding it. I'll say that. You know, if you read Paul's account just in a nutshell, you would think that this guy might be a secret angel or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I was just talking to my father-in-law about that yesterday, and I like to, like, people who I know the Bible, that I trust that they have Bible, you know, they've read the Bible, I should say. I like to hit them with certain questions to see what they're just like without reading anything. You know what I'm saying? Your opinion. Let me hear your opinion on certain things, because there are some times in the Bible where it's like, this seems like this is two separate points, and I don't know how to get these two to make sense completely. And it's not that it's a contradiction, but I just can't comprehend this. But anyway, he gave me his opinion. You know, he believes that Melchizedek is just a man, but it's like just depending on the objective of Paul, why he was, you know, mentioned. That kind of what we resolve on. Some of y'all can read up on him for yourself. I resolved to not give any definitive answer. I do believe he was a man, but as to why, I can't say, because we don't have enough evidence on this guy. He's a mystery. He's an enigmatic in a way. But when you get people who say, I know the Bible, and they like 100%, bro, like I know this for sure, bro, that I don't find that to be plausible, because you have people like Melchizedek that are unanswered questions that God put in the Bible for very specific things. We know the objective of Melchizedek. He was to show us the Prince of Peace before it was relevant. Then when Jesus come around, it's like, you remember that guy who nobody really know what he about? Jesus is that. Jesus is that what he represented, this is what Jesus actually is. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, where did he come from? Where did he go? Where's his beginning? Where's his end? We don't know. So how could you say, I know everything in the Bible when there are certain things in the Bible that have not come to pass? Like the way the mark of the beast will be implemented.
Mercy.
Based on the Bible. We do not know. We just know we will not be able to buy or sell unless we receive the mark of the beast. Even some people have never even heard of the seal of God.
Mercy.
Some people, everybody know about the mark of the beast, but a lot of people have not even heard about the seal of God. There are a lot of things. The Bible is so vast, interpreted so many times. It is highly unlikely that one singular finite human being knows everything about the Bible, and it's always stuff to learn, and it's dangerous territory when you get to the point where you're unteachable because you have known everything. I read the Bible in a year. I read the entire Bible. Bro, you could ask me stuff about Ezekiel and Jeremiah. I can't tell you an answer. Honestly, less than a year ago I read these books and I can't tell you.
You could ask me, but all of mine are prophets. Like I might give you an answer, but I still gotta think about it hard, and then someone else just be like, bro, I don't know, bro. I can't remember what Amos was talking about.
I don't know. Like, bro, and then sometimes when you're born and raised Christian, there are some disadvantages because people often misquote the Bible or quote out of context, I should say. So write the vision, make it plain, right? People attribute that to saying, whatever your dreams are, you need to put it on paper.
Yeah.
But literally God was saying, yo, I have a vision for you, but I want you to write it down so that people will be able to reference it so that they can benefit from it. Not to say, bro, your vision will not come to fruition unless you write it down, So it's like we live in a world where people say, bro, the Bible said write the vision, make it plain. As if to say, bro, when you write this, you make your request known to God. No, God is telling you what to write. You feel me? Like in context, that is incorrect. That is biblically incorrect.
Box.
You know what I'm saying? And so, I don't know. We can wrap this one up. We started the episode, brothers and sisters, with some trivia. Some things that we could know, we should know, or some things that we know but is not biblical. And the only way to safeguard against these things is for you yourself to study the word for yourself. There's a lot of folklore, there's a lot of misinformation, and the only way to get around that is to actually know what you believe it, why you believe it, and where it's found. Thanks to everyone for tuning into our podcast. It's been 150 episodes thus far, and we still have a lot more Bible to go through. So join us next week as we continue the story of Jehu on the next episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Remember to go ahead and research on your own in order to get a more firm understanding of tonight's episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can follow us on social media at A Breath of Fresh Air Pod on Instagram and BOFAPOD on Twitter. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week.